My name is Dimitrios Kottas. We are a defense tech company. Our first products are about border surveillance and coastal monitoring. The recipe for our company is to build low-cost autonomous systems for national security challenges. Right now we have deployments focused on forest protection, for early wildfire detection, coastal monitoring and border surveillance. Our mission as a company is to bring a renaissance in the European defense and security industry by accelerating the adoption of new technologies, especially around autonomous systems and artificial intelligence and their application in defense and security. I think the key motivation becoming a founder is being really passionate about solving a problem. In particular, in my case, I had a lot of training as a roboticist, either in academia in the States or in the industry in Silicon Valley. As a roboticist, I was able to see the dangers that emerge nowadays from the combination of revisionist powers, like big or middle powers that want to change the borders around them with violence, and the combination of that with the emergence of new technologies like the low-cost drones. So that combination seemed like a very scary event to me and kind of motivated me strongly to help bring a renaissance in the European defense tech industry. Our team is international by training, the founding team. Me, myself, I spent most of my professional life in the States, as I said, either in industry or academia. My co-founder, George, he was with Palantir, and before that with Bloomberg in London. And the other co-founder, John, was with, he was studying mechanical engineering in Bristol and in London. We started in Greece because that's our garage, if you may. It was, we come from here, so it was simpler for us to start from here. However, given our experience both in the States and the United Kingdom, we want to build a European first company. For that reason, we are very aggressive on setting up an office in London, on exploring potential clients in Europe. The main benefit, if you may, for us starting from Greece is that Greece is quite a remarkable country in terms of its defense and security needs. It's a very small nation in terms of population that has, however, to manage a quite large coastline. Actually, it's the 11th coastline on the planet, while we don't have neither the 11th population or GDP. So for us, Greece is a unique test bed, a unique sandbox to perfect our products and bring them in the international market of the Western Alliance. Yes and no. I think nowadays capital, it's quite accessible. Given the background of our team, most of our network was already abroad. So we didn't have to move that much in order to attract capital. Greece is very similar with the rest of Europe. The whole of Europe follows the trends in the States with a lag, if you may. So I would say like the main shift is moving away from purely software businesses or purely service businesses, businesses that are not defensible, if you may, businesses that are easy to copy. So I would say the trend I'm seeing is that people start to move away from those types of services and purely software businesses that we saw to emerge over the last decade. And I see people moving back to what some call it deep tech, some call it hard tech, some call it combination of hardware and software, like products that are defensible, products that have significant component of manufacturing, or they deal with a very well-regulated industry. So that's a trend I'm seeing coming to Europe and correspondingly also to Greece with a lag of certain years compared to the States. One of the unique characteristics you have here is that there is a very large diaspora of people that are of Greek heritage, either in academia or in the industry, and they are spread across Europe and the Americas. I would say that creates very unique networks, both in terms of exchange of information, of like potential talent you can attract. So yeah, I would say that's a key difference or a key characteristic of the Greek tech community. We consider London to be a strategic office for us, so we are investing a lot and aggressively on setting up our presence in the United Kingdom. That's due to the nature of our business, in the sense that we are in the defense and security sector. One of the key things you need to overcome when you start a tech business of any form, in my opinion, anywhere in Europe, is, in quote, lack of talent, or the fact that, there is a brain drain, if you may, where like talent may try to look for opportunities abroad, where abroad usually means California. And I think like one of the ways we found to work around that, and I think it's a very common recipe across Europe, is to have a combination, a healthy ratio between people that have significant expertise in their field and sector, usually through their previous jobs in the industry, and combine those people with like junior graduates that are really passionate about the mission of the company. I think the tides are turning rapidly. If you asked me 5 years ago, if you told me 5 years ago I would be in a defense company, I would call you crazy. For me, what triggered my brain to change my viewpoint on that is that I kind of like had a moral dilemma, if you may. From the point you have revisionist powers or crazy dictators around Europe building fleets of lethal robots, building fleets at an industrial scale of lethal drones. Then for a European engineer, there is a dilemma, a moral dilemma. Choice number one is to have like a very well-respected pacifism, which however can be seen as immoral because of doing nothing about an emergent threat. And choice number two is building countermeasures to those threats. Those countermeasures are obviously weapons. And obviously, it's really hard to predict how a weapon may be used 10 or 20 years from now. I answered that dilemma with my choice to help jumpstart again the European defense tech industry. What I'm seeing is that more and more engineers, investors, policymakers are also answering that dilemma, and they are working hard in order for the European democracies to catch up on their technological capabilities compared to their adversaries. I think the most key part is culture. We need a cultural shift. Not just for Greece. Again, I think Greece is very similar to the rest of European capitals, in my eyes, when you compare all of them compared to the States. And I think the biggest shortcoming or drawback, if you want, is cultural. Cultural in the sense of what people consider possible. Like it's very common to see in the States a bunch of 25-year-old engineers start building a deep tech company, trying to solve a really hard problem, being really ambitious. That's something that you don't see that often in Europe. So I would say a cultural shift, not just for Greece, but also for Europe, on what we are technologically capable to deliver. Historically, the industries in this continent have delivered amazing technology. Airbus is such an example. The Concorde aircraft is such an example. However, I think over the last decades, we lost our optimism. And I think what's needed, number one, is a shift from pessimism to optimism. I think that's a phenomenon across Europe. I think it's correlated with the reduction of our industrial capabilities, the moving of many factories to the east. It is connected also with the fact that certain technological races Europe lost. There is no European operating system, there is no European processor, there is no European smartphone, there is no European equivalent of Tesla or SpaceX. So I think this pattern kind of created a pessimism, but I strongly believe that the tides will turn. Right now we have 3 goals as a company. Number one, we want to establish ourselves as a company serving European democracies, and our inflection points for that is not just Athens, but it's London. So that's number one, establishing ourselves in the European market, using London as our key hub. Number two, delivering the products we have seen that can provide innovative solutions at certain national security challenges, such as, for example, coastal monitoring, border surveillance, and forest protection. We have some first deployments there. We would like to see ourselves delivering large-scale installations of those systems. That is quite audacious for a startup to decide to go against, large primes on government contracts. And number three, getting into harder problems around defense. We started with some quite simple problems, such as border surveillance. However, our core technological capabilities allow us to build a portfolio of products focused especially on platforms more complicated than our existing surveillance towers. I strongly believe that in the next decade, we're going to see a large wave of reindustrialization across Europe. I know it seems too contrary right now. However, I strongly believe we are going to rebuild a lot of our technological capabilities, and I think Greece can play an important role in that.